We're joined now by Mark Mayer, PhD. He is the chair today of the Molecules of Memory Symposium with the National Institutes of Health. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. You are the chair of this symposium, so give us an idea of what it's all about.
Well, the title of the symposium, The Molecules of Memory, came from the main biological function of these receptors, which is to initially activate communication between cells in the brain, but ultimately leads to memory formation.
And so you're going to have 4 different speakers at this session?
Yeah, so because of the focus of the Biophysical Society, which is on mechanism, most of the speakers will be addressing either structural issues concerning how the receptors function, or using biophysical tools to look in great detail about the kinetics of how these receptors work.
So going a little bit further, can you break down the topics a little bit more for us to give our clear idea?
Yeah, so I'm the first speaker, and we'll be talking about looking at movements of receptor using a technique called cryo-electron microscopy, which has been undergone a renaissance in the last 2 years. It's a very, very exciting time in the field. Then moving on, the next speaker, Bob Oswald from Cornell, will be looking at just one small portion of the receptor, but by using X-ray crystallography and NMR, they can get a lot more detail than we can by cryo-EM. And then the last 2 talks in the session are on NMDA receptors themselves, really the molecules of memory. And those 2 talks will address, again, biophysical kinetic measurements, and then Pierre Paoletti, the last speaker, will talk about how these receptors are modulated by drugs and endogenous mechanisms.
Why is this particular topic and all those topics discussed within the symposium so important?
Well, I think we all tend to take for granted that it's all going on up here right now. We're using these molecules to communicate and to perhaps remember what I said. And so biologically it's a very, very important mechanism. I think the other reason it's an appropriate topic for the society right now is that we've had a long history at this meeting of studying voltage-gated ion channels, and I think people tend to shy away from working on these chemically activated ion channels because they're technically much more difficult to study. Well, that's changing. People are gripping the reins and going for it, and I think it's a very, very exciting time. We've had a lot of progress and there's a lot more to do.
And so if there was one takeaway from this meeting for the attendees, what one thing would you want them to embrace and understand at the end of the day?
I think I'd want them to get an understanding of where the field is right now and how they can take it forward into the future.
Okay. Well, Professor Mayer, thank you so much for taking time with us today. Best of luck for a successful symposium.